My name is Dr. Elias Voss, and I've always believed in the sanctity of control. As a pulmonologist at St. Matthias Hospital in Berlin, my life revolved around precision, the calculated rhythm of a ventilator, the exact dosage of corticosteroids, the sterile predictability of an operating theater. But control, I've learned, is a fragile illusion, one that shattered on a frigid November night when a patient named Lena Hartmann was wheeled into the ER, her lungs drowning in fluid that defied every textbook explanation. The first time I saw Lena, she was a silhouette behind a curtain, her breath rattling like gravel in a tin can. The resident on duty, a nervous man named Klaus with sweat beading on his brow, thrust her chart at me. 32 years old, no prior medical history. Collapsed at a concert. Saturated at 78% on high-flow oxygen. CEFR shows bilateral infiltrates, but labs are clean. No infection, no autoimmunity, nothing. I skimmed the notes, my fingers brushing the paper as if it might confirm the diagnosis by touch. Has she traveled recently? Exposure to toxins? Klaus shook his head. She's a violinist. Spends most days in a practice room. No pets, no allergies. Her partner says she's been fatigued for weeks, but, he trailed off, his eyes flicking to the monitors. Lena's oxygen levels dipped again. I snapped into motion, barking orders for bronchoscopy prep. As the team scrambled, I studied her face, pale, freckled, lips tinged blue. She was too young for this. Too ordinary. The bronchoscopy revealed no tumors, no obstructions. Her BAL fluid was clear. By dawn, Lena was intubated, her body dependent on a machine to mimic the simple act of breathing. And I was no closer to answers. The hospital buzzed with theories. A rare autoimmune disorder. A genetic mutation. A psychosomatic response to stress. I dismissed them all. Medicine, to me, was a science, not a guessing game. But as days passed and Lena's condition worsened, doubt crept in. I spent nights poring over journals, chasing obscure case studies of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis and cryptogenic organizing pneumonia. Nothing fit. Then there was the matter of her partner, Jonas. He arrived daily, hollow-eyed, clutching a weathered violin case. She was fine, he insisted, over and over. Tired, maybe, but she breathed. His voice cracked on the last word, as if the verb itself had betrayed her. One evening, I found him in the ICU waiting area, playing a haunting melody on his violin. The notes curled around the sterile walls like smoke. Bach Shekon, he said when he noticed me. Lena's favorite. She said it sounded like grief and hope arguing. I lingered, uneasy. Art had never been my language. But there was a rawness in Jonas's music, a vulnerability that mirrored my own frustration. Weeks bled into a month. Lena's body became a battleground. Steroids, antivirals, experimental biologics, each treatment failed. My colleagues urged me to withdraw care, to label her case a mystery and move on. But I couldn't. Every beep of her ventilator felt like a personal accusation. Then, on a rain-slicked morning, a nurse found Lena's fingertips stained blue. Not from hypoxia, this was different. The discoloration crept upward, mottling her arms like ink spilled in water. I stood in the lab, staring at her blood work. Elevated methemoglobin levels. Unusual. Deadly. But why? The answer came in fragments. A hushed conversation with a toxicologist. A forgotten article on rare chemical exposures. A memory of Lena's chart, her address near the Spree River, where industrial runoff had seeped into the water decades prior. Methemoglobinemia, I muttered, the word sharp on my tongue. But how? Jonas provided the missing piece. She drinks tap water, he said. Said it tasted metallic sometimes, but... God, we thought it was just the pipes. I ordered tests on Lena's home water supply. The results confirmed it: benzene, traces of heavy metals, and a compound I'd never seen, tetranitromethane, a defunct industrial chemical banned in the 1980s. Lena's lungs weren't failing, they were poisoned. The antidote was simple: methylene blue. Within hours, Lena's saturation stabilized. Her skin flushed pink. But the victory felt hollow. The toxins had scarred her lungs irreversibly. She'd need a transplant. I told Jonas the news in the hospital chapel, where he'd taken to sitting in silence. He absorbed the words, then asked, "Will she play again?" I hesitated. "It depends on the donor." "On luck." He nodded, his thumb tracing the violin strings. "She'll hate that." "Hating depending on luck, I mean." I thought of my own father, a surgeon who'd lost a patient to a random infection. Medicine is a war against chaos, he'd said. But chaos always wins in the end. Lena received her new lungs on a Tuesday. The surgery went perfectly. By Friday, she was breathing on her own. But recovery was a different beast. Lena's body rejected the lungs twice. She developed sepsis. Her mind, starved of oxygen during her collapse, faltered. She forgot words, forgot Jonas's face, forgot how to hold a bow. Yet she fought. With a tenacity that humbled me, she clawed her way back. And through it all, Jonas played. Schubert in the mornings, Brahms at night. The music filled the ICU like a promise. One evening, I found Lena sitting up, her fingers brushing the violin strings. The notes were shaky, unsteady. But they were hers. A year later, I attended Lena's comeback concert. She performed in a small theater, her breath steady, her scars hidden beneath a crimson gown. When she finished, the audience erupted. She glanced at me, nodded, and for a moment, I let myself believe in control again. But as I walked home, the city's lights blurred by rain, I remembered Jonas's words. It sounded like grief and hope arguing. Maybe that's what medicine is, not a war, but a negotiation. A balance between what we can fix and what we must endure. And sometimes, if we're lucky, the music finds a way to play on.